This is Sergeant Amanda Seeley of the Louisville Metro Police Department's Public Integrity Unit. It is Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. The current time is 12:55 hours. We are present at 3672 Taylor Boulevard at the Public Integrity Office. This will be a recorded statement from Sergeant John Mattingly. The statement is in reference to PIU case number 20-019. Present with me are Sergeant John Mattingly, Attorney Steve Schilling, and Sergeant Jason Vance of the Public Integrity Unit.
Officer involved shootings. So we're here just to try to
Sergeant, are you aware this statement is being video and audio taped?
Yes.
Does this meet with your approval?
Yes.
So we take our steps.
Please state your full name and spell your last name.
Attorneys,
Jonathan Mattingly, Mattingly,
What is your code number?
2465.
Where are you currently assigned?
The CID Interdiction
We were
Squad.
asking about
How
your
long have you been
parents
with that
earlier. And I talked to you
I've been
about
at narcotics
your
before they
dad.
changed it or since they've changed
Are you
it?
close with your dad?
Either.
Been at narcotics since November 2016.
Then are you, is he still
How
close to
long have you
your
been
dad?
on the department?
Since June of 2000.
Okay.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Are you under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any other intoxicants at this time?
No.
Are you taking any kind of medication that would affect your judgment or ability to think clearly?
No.
And Sergeant
The
Chanel
next four
actually
questions are
spoke
going to be in
your
reference to the
parents.
actual incident night on March the 13th at Springfield Drive.
We told him
About your uniform
everything we know.
treatment. Did you sustain any injuries during this situation?
Yes.
Pretty much
Please
in
describe.
the early stages of the investigation.
Sustained a gunshot wound to the upper left
I was told
thigh.
that, you were going to come back here.
Tore through the
And I was actually
femoral
with
artery
a guy that
and exited out the
knew your
back of the
father
leg.
from
Have you received medical treatment?
Did.
Where and by whom?
University of Louisville Hospital by the trauma team. There were several doctors. I don't have their names.
That was about it. I mean, we left.
What type of uniform or clothing were you wearing at the time of this incident?
And can you kind of
Just let me give you from like the bottom up what I had on.
Everything we know. Okay.
Had
Like,
black Under Armour boots
I was
on,
telling you,
gray
this
pants,
is like the internal affairs.
a
unit,
black
right?
three-quarter zip
So we're
Nike.
just kind of.
I have no idea who the hell this other person is talking in this video, in this interview, because from the original one I heard, there was no second, that person talking in the background. Hold on, I'm gonna let it play a little bit further.
Over,
Figuring stuff out at
and I
this
had
point.
my
And you've got a pretty good perspective and
tactical
you would
vest
also
on that
be
said
here.
police on the front and back,
That'll be all right with you.
the plates in it.
Before we get started, I just need to go over.
Do you have the same uniform or clothing on right now?
To you.
No.
And have you sign it. We'll just read it.
Because of the statutory requirements of KRS 67C3.
This is John Mattingly, the police officer that was involved in the Breonna Taylor murder.
6, I am obligated to advise you of constitutional rights prior to asking, making any further questions. And this is the rights waiver. I'll read over this.
This is Amanda Seeley, Louisville Metro Police Department.
Public place, 3672
Also
Taylor
with me
Boulevard.
is Sergeant Chad Tennell, PIU Office 3672 Taylor Boulevard. Today's date is March 13th, 2020.
We actually changed.
Thursday, the time, current time is 03.
Yeah, it's not 15.5 anymore. It's because Louisville's
I am
a
here
first-class
with-
city. And once it was brought to our hearing, we changed it. But it's the same privileges. Doesn't matter. Okay. Same rights waiver, yeah.
Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your right. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you can
So Walker.
say, anything you say can and will be against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer prior to any questioning or making of any statements, and you have him present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed by the
So we're
court to
here
represent
about
you
the
in the
incident that occurred at
if you desire one.
3003.
You may stop the questioning or making of any statements at any time by refusing to answer further or by requesting to consult with an attorney prior to
3007.
continuing
That's
questioning or
3003.
the
I'm sorry.
making of any statements.
3000.
I have read this statement of my rights, and I understand what my rights are. I'm willing to make a statement, answer questions. I do not want to look.
That to you.
Can I still read that? I'm sorry.
It's a preamble of the LMPD rights waiver.
It's fine.
Okay. I understand and know what I'm doing. No promises or threats have been made to me, and no pressure or coercion of any kind have been used against me.
He was supposed to read that
Like
part.
he should be reading that.
Yeah, all it says is basically that you're
1259.
They're agreeing to those terms. Signing out.
Thank you.
What'd you say?
So, Sergeant, in your own words, the incident that occurred at
just trying to find out what
3003
happened.
Springfield Drive, apartment number 4, on the morning of Friday the 13th. Give me your words of what happened and your involvement.
All right, we were executing a search warrant for one of the other units up in CID. I think it's place-based.
You hang out at your
And,
girlfriend's house a lot?
About 45 minutes before we executed the warrant, I did a drive-by with Mike Campbell, had the eye on the house. So I did a drive-by the apartment just to get my own visual to make sure which door we were hitting.
So had you been over there
When I
all
came up to the
day?
door, there's two apartments. It was the second door over. And there was a Roto-Rooter van right in front of it. That's how we identified it. And it was apartment 4 on the bottom floor on the right. So there's two doors looking directly at us, two on the side. It was the one on the inside on the right. Went back and we geared up. And when it was time to, when SWAT
Anybody
was
else live there?
doing their thing down at 2-4 in Madison, we went over, Elliott, whatever it was. We executed ours at the same time. I was the first car in, pulled up on scene. When we got there, there was a vehicle that hadn't been there prior to me coming through. It was a
Was it?
from 2004 Toyota Sequoia,
Oh, is it?
white or cream in color. We got there, there was a vehicle that hadn't been there prior to me coming through. Executed ours at the
I'd
same
like to make
time.
this, in the paperwork that Mo went over with me yesterday, they literally have that white vehicle in the paperwork. But let him tell it, he's never seen that vehicle before.
I was the first car in, pulled up on scene. When we got there, there was a vehicle that hadn't been there prior to me coming through. It was
Was
a
it?
from 2004 Toyota Sequoia.
Oh, is
It's
it?
white or cream in color. I pulled behind it and exited my vehicle. I went up and cleared that car to make sure nobody was in it since it wasn't there prior. That time I went around the front of it, cut between the cars. We made our approach to the apartment.
So did y'all finish watching the movie?
When you go up again, the doors on the right, there's a stairwell that goes right over the top of it. I circled all the way to the back since I was going to be the one knocking on the
Hang on,
door.
I'm sorry.
So I was basically in front of the back door of the other
I'm
apartment.
so sorry. I
It's
got
just
tied up in listening to you.
right
So
beside
let me
it.
read these real quick and then let's go back to where you are.
When we all got up in line, I knocked on
You
the
have the right to
door,
remain
banged
silent.
on it.
Anything you
We
can.
didn't announce the first couple
Say,
because our
anything you say
intent was
can
not
will be
to
used against you
to
in
hit
court
the
of law.
door.
You have the right to
Our
talk to
intent
the
was to
lawyer
give her
prior to
plenty
any
of time
question
to
or
come to the
making of
door
any
because they said
statement.
she was probably there alone.
In court,
So
to hire a
we
lawyer
determined,
will be appointed by the
predetermined
court
to give her plenty of time to come to the door. Banged on the door.
You may stop questioning or making
No
statements
response,
anytime or
banged on it
repeat
again, no
statements.
response. At that point, we
Further,
started
or by
announcing
requesting
ourselves,
to
please
consult with
come to the
attorney
door.
prior to continuing
Please, we have a
questioning
search
or
warrant.
making of any statement.
While we're doing this, there was a neighbor
Sign this,
or
this is
somebody
I've read the
upstairs,
statement of my rights,
right
I
on the
understand what my rights
staircase,
are. I
that
will
started
make a
arguing
statement and
with
answer questions. I do not
Detective
want to
Hankus and
sound
Lieutenant
understand and know
Hoover.
what I'm doing.
And they were both giving him commands to go back into his apartment. And he kept saying, I wasn't really paying attention to what he was saying, something about leave that girl alone or something like that.
I'm sorry.
But while he was doing that, we were still announcing, please come to the door, please search warrant. And we banged, I probably banged on the door six or seven different time periods. Not 6 or 7 times, but 6 or 7 different times, which seems like an attorney
Who was that?
up at a door.
You know?
It probably lasted between 45 seconds and a minute, banging on the door.
No, I understand. I'm sorry. I just,
At that time, I looked back at Lieutenant Hoover, and he says, let's go ahead and hit it. Because at one point, probably after about the third time we banged, Mike was standing at the doorway, and he says, I can hear somebody inside, I think they're coming to the door. So we thought they were coming to the door. And then we didn't hear anything else, so we kept banging and announcing. And at that point, Lieutenant Hoover said, go ahead and hit it. So I looked at Mike and said, go ahead. So he hits the first time, and he hits right on the door handle and didn't move the door. And every time he hits, people are announcing, please search warrant, please search warrant. Second time he hits the good spot, and it almost knocks the door open. I could see the deadbolt at an angle, and I could see a crack in the door leading into the apartment. So I said, this one's going to go. So he hit the third time, and as soon as he hit the door, came out, please search warrant, please search warrant. I go around the corner, I can see, I clear the living room on the right-hand side where you can see the sliding glass door. As I turn the corner, as soon as I cleared the threshold of the front door, I could see down the hallway. My mind your mind works so quick in this situation. Because as soon as I cleared it, I'm face on about probably 20 feet away, right down the hallway. There's a bedroom door on the right, and there's the male and a female. The male's closest to the door, so it's 2 mile right. And as I turn the doorway, he's in a stretched out position with his hands with a gun. And as soon as I clear, he fires. Boom. And it was almost like at the shooting range where two things flip at the same time, and you got to shoot, no shoot. I mean, they were like shoulder to shoulder. My mind's going, this ain't right. You know, something's off here. Because all the doors I've made entry in, I've never seen this. And so I hit this corner, and it goes boom. And as soon as the shot hit, I could feel the heat in my leg. And so I just returned fire. I got 4 rounds off. And it was like simultaneous. It's boom, 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 boom. And then I went back and went down on the side of the door and then reached around, and I think I had 2 more off around the corner of the door. And then I could really feel the blood in my leg, so I reached down and felt it, and my hand was full of blood, and I knew it hit my femoral at that point. So I scooted back on my butt, and I yelled at them, I've been hit my femoral. And I scooted back, and I think at that time Miles slid up. I'm not sure. I think he was over my left shoulder behind me. I'm not sure where he was standing. I know Tony was behind me. Mike was to the right of the door with the ram. It was Brett, Hoover, and Campbell had come up around the corner at that point by the stairs. So I'm assuming Miles was behind me because I think he was there in front of me. And so I slid back on my butt to get out of the line of fire. And for a second, I let go of my gun. And I realized what I did, so I reached out and grabbed my gun and pulled it back. And I was like, I can't stay here. So I stood up, and I hobbled out across in front of the door and went to where the curb is, where you step off in between the cars. And I guess Mike Campbell had stumbled, and I think he stepped back when the shots fired. I'm assuming he fell off the curb. Because when I went to go through the cars, I looked down and was like, my mind's going, why are you on the ground? And I tripped over and fell off the curb or something. At that point, I holstered my gun and scooted to the edge of the car, and then Hoover came up and grabbed my vest from behind him.
Who is it? Loud.
And that's it, as far as y'all need.
No response. So I'm like, what the heck? So then I grabbed my gun, which is legal.
No, we need
to carry
the whole thing. I do remember when I went on the ground, I don't remember any, right there in that doorway, the breezeway, I don't really remember shots fired, because I remember I was thinking this. I was putting pressure on this, and I got to get that way. I do remember when I tripped, by the time I went out, I stepped off the curb and tripped over him. I remember as soon as I hit the ground and holstered, I could hear all of a sudden boom, 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 several shots at that point, it seemed like then. And my mind could be playing tricks on me, but I'm sure it was then when I hit the ground, because I was still by myself. And then as I scooted out, Hoover grabbed me, and it seemed like I got quiet after that.
I just let off one shot.
We get to the edge, and I said, man, I've been hit before, I need a tourniquet. So Hoover said, I don't have one. He grabbed his belt, and he put it on, and he squeezed it. I remember reaching out and said, it's not tight enough. I need a tourniquet. And about that time, Tony James shows up, and we're going back and forth, and he comes with one. He ended up having his vest. He goes to put his gloves on, and Hoover says, put your gloves, grabs the tourniquet, slides it on my leg, start tightening up. Somebody stepped on this hip to push down, somebody pushed on the leg, I can't really remember who it was, but I remember them squeezing it, and I said, I need a knife to cut this off, see where it's at. Somebody found a knife. The knife came out somewhere, and they started cutting the pant leg off. And then I kept going, did anybody call for EMS yet? Because they were just a quarter mile down the road, if that. I kept going, where's EMS? And so I got on my radio and tried to call, but apparently they had some kind of standoff on channel 2 or
In the living
channel 8
room or the hallway, was everything off because you guys had gone to bed?
Just got some clicks, they didn't know what I was saying. Then I could hear Brett yell 10:30 on the radio.
Watching us.
And as they're squeezing that, I lay back, I could hear him yell 10:30, then I hear the beat car getting there not too long after that, and I can remember Hoover saying, time to ram the gate. And so then Brett, I could hear him yelling at him on the radio to ram the gate, and then I hear the gate get rammed, boom.
I know whoever would be on the other side of the door could.
EMS still hadn't got, I could hear him yell 10:30, then I hear the beat car.
The other person that y'all can hear talking is Kenneth Walker. That just hit me because I heard the voice, and I'd heard the voice before. But it's the first time that I've ever heard him give his side of the story. So I'm gonna let this video play a little bit longer, but it's distorting Mattingly's testimony because you can't even hear what Kenneth Walker is saying. So what I'm gonna do, like I said, I'm gonna let this finish, but I want to find Kenneth Walker's own interview, a testimony of what happened, so we can compare it against what John Mattingly's saying. Because of course they gonna always side with the police. That's what they're supposed to do. You understand? Y'all know this shit. Color aside, we know that the police is gonna back the police. But like I said, this is the first time I ever heard Kenneth Walker's side of it. And it's messed up that they try to play it like this. So I would like to find another video, but we already in on this one, so I'm gonna let it go.
Getting there not too long after that, and I can remember Hoover saying, time to ram the gate. And so then Brett, I could hear him yelling at him on the radio to ram the gate. And then I hear the gate get rammed, boom.
I know whoever would be on the other side of the door could.
EMS still hadn't gotten there, and I kept going, where's EMS? You know, where the fuck is EMS at? And because the pain wasn't really in the shot, it was up in the groin and the back, and I'm thinking, man, at this point, okay, we got the tourniquet on, good, put it down, we gotta get this leg, you know, I didn't want to lose my leg. So, at some point, EMS shows up. It seemed like forever, I don't know how long it took. They finally showed up, and I remember them saying, let's get him in a car and get him up. They kept saying, do you want to go in a car to university? Well, I knew EMS was so close and they had stuff we didn't.
You said
So I was
you
like, no,
grabbed
let's
your
just wait for
gun.
them.
Do you have
They gotta be here in a
your
second.
What kind of gun
So,
do you have?
finally they show up. They say, throw him in my car. Miles said, throw him in my car. Well, I remember walking toward the car and said, I'm not getting in that back seat because I knew my leg, I couldn't get down and back up. And so they said, well, put him in the trunk. I remember hearing that. The trunk was popped. And Hoover's like, no, and he went to shut the trunk and there was some gun case hanging out. So they shoved it in, put me on the trunk, or shoved the trunk, started to pick me up, and Hoover has my legs, and the guy in the back didn't lift my...
I hate this. Hold on, I'm sorry, y'all. Let me see something. Kenneth Walker's testimony, Breonna Taylor case. Kenneth Walker's testimony, Breonna Taylor case. This is what you call on-the-fly journalism, baby. Let's hit it.
Kenneth Walker, after Walker tries to explain what happened hours after the shooting.
We both get up, start putting on clothes. Another knock at the door. She's like, who is it? Loud at the top of her lungs. No response.
He says he and Taylor were watching a movie in bed when police knocked on their door.
You guys consider this location as, and I've heard this a couple times throughout this investigation, as a soft target.
Right.
That's Sergeant John Mattingly.
My whole thing is I want to do this, and if Mo you watching, or somebody a little bit more computer savvy, get Kenneth Walker's full interview, compare it to John Mattingly's interview, because he's the first officer on the scene, yo. So we gotta compare these stories. because you got Kenneth Walker saying they announced themselves. Door announced themselves, and we know they didn't announce themselves. Aside of the no-knock warrant, all of the officers, thank you, 2Ps, all of the officers came to that they wasn't gonna announce themselves because they knew that she was in there by herself and they didn't want to startle her. That is John Mattingly's own words. That's John Mattingly's own words. John Mattingly literally said that they all decided not to announce themselves because they didn't want to startle her. This is crazy.
Admitting during a police interview they thought Taylor would be because knew where their was, appearing to refer to suspect
Hold on.
when police knocked on their door.
You guys considered this location as, and I've heard this a couple times throughout this investigation, target.
Right.
That's Sergeant John Mattingly admitting during a police interview they thought Taylor would be alone because they, quote, knew where their target was, appearing to refer to suspect Jamarcus Glover, who wasn't at Taylor's apartment.
Banged on it again, no response. At that point, we started announcing ourselves, please come to the door. Please, we have a search warrant.
He says at first police didn't announce themselves, but after 6 or 7 knocks, he says they did.
And as I turned the doorway, he's in a stretched out position with his hands with a gun, and as soon as I clear, he fires. Boom.
Mattingly describes seeing Walker after police tried knocking down the door. Walker thought someone was breaking in.
All of a sudden, there's a whole lot of shots, and like we both just dropped to the ground, and the gun like fell.
It was like simultaneous. It's boom, 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 boom.
When asked if it was his officers who returned fire, Mattingly answered,
I don't know. I never saw anybody return. I never saw anybody return fire. I think they did, especially my initial 4. I know nobody did. It was just me and this guy.
but he admits firing at least 4 rounds. Walker says after firing 1 shot in self-defense, he and Taylor dropped to the ground.
I'm yelling help because she's right here bleeding and nobody's coming.
At one point during the interview, Mattingly describes when a neighbor exchanged some words with Officer Brett Hankinson when police were at Taylor's door. He tells investigators Hankinson seemed, quote, worked up, and he tried to get him to relax. You can listen to the full interviews on WHES11.com. For now reporting,
I need y'all help, man. Y'all know what it is. Find that Kenneth Walker interview in its entirety. Compare it with that John Mattingly interview in its entirety. And let's make some sense out of this shit because we know what their findings is. Or should I say we know what their findings are. And we know what the verdict is. And we also know the evidence from the testimonies. So shit just ain't right, man. Shit ain't right. Appreciate it. Well, look, I'm ready to hop off here. I got some business to attend to. I'll be back on probably within another hour and a half. I appreciate y'all stopping through. Y'all be safe, man. Love y'all. Peace.